Welcome to this podcast, Married to His Will. I am Suzette Williams, your host and licensed professional counselor in the state of Georgia. If you are listening for the first time, I welcome you especially. If you're in a struggle and feeling stuck, you have come to the right place. This podcast is made just for you so that you will know you can become unstuck. Today, I am married to the will of God as I have discovered that His purpose for my life is always bigger than my status or whatever circumstance I find myself in. I originally thought the continuous struggle of my 19 to 20-year marriage was my purpose, but it was only to be used for God's greater purpose in my life. I realized that my sacrifice to stay in an abusive marriage was not the kind of sacrifice God required, but that the promise of salvation was not only from eternal hell, but for situations beyond my ability to manage. I became free from a place of bondage so that you can be free also. 1 Corinthians 10:13 tells me that there is no temptation or struggle that God cannot deliver me from. He will provide a way of escape out of that struggle you face. He did that for me. It's by His grace that I endured 19 years of the same struggle. He said, I am bringing you out so that you can become who I have called you to become. And now I am delivered and married to His will. Invite your friends on the journey with me as I share biblical insights, share my personal stories, and clinical insights from my own expertise and knowledge. And I plan to have others join me along the way. Enjoy this next episode. Hello. Welcome to this episode of Married to His Will. Guess what, y'all? I have the most amazing guest coming on today. I can hardly breathe. I'm so excited because it is my brother-in-law, Rohan Thompson. He is the pastor, the lead pastor at Deeper Church. And I'm so excited to introduce him to you because we're going to get to talking and I have no idea how it's going to go, but I know it's going to go well because he has a lot to share. And he wears, he's wearing the hat of a husband and a pastor and all of these things. And so I want you to hear from the male perspective, just how he balances life and does it. So without further delay, please help me welcome Pastor Rohan Thompson. Hope he doesn't get me for that because, Rohan Thompson is his name. But yes, I respect his title as pastor and for what he's really doing. He doesn't just own the title, guys, but he is very involved in the lives of those he pastors. And I am one of those people who can say that because he is there for me, not just as a sister, but, or as a brother, but as a pastor. And, before he was ordained a pastor, he certainly was living that way. And so please help me welcome again, Pastor Rohan Thompson. Woo!
The madness has begun.
He got me laughing already, y'all. Well, welcome to this podcast, my pastor and my brother, Rohan Thompson.
It's just something else. What am I doing on here, Suzette?
Legally, but he's my brother, for real.
What you got me on here for?
Well, I told the people, I want them to get a view into your world, a little bit of a view into your world and just the things that you've been up to, such as Deeper Church. Every week I come on here, I'm talking about Deeper Church lately.
Yeah, so I've been hearing. It's all right,
yes.
Suzanne. Well, I would give you $5, but you already owe me a few of those, so I'm not paying you for it.
Listen, every time I have him do something for me or ask him a request, he's like, I got to pay him $5. Well, he would have been rich by now if I gave him $5 for every time he told me. But it's not happening. So, Rohan, I told the people, you probably don't want me to say Pastor Rohan, but I'm like, you are Pastor Rohan Thompson.
I am. Listen, I own that. I own that now.
Yes.
I had to get comfortable with that, but I do own that. But I'm fine being called my name because that's what my mama named me. I just happen to be a pastor, right? I happen to be called to that office. So I honor the office, respect the office, but I'm not one of those, hey, you need to call me pastor.
Okay.
Nah.
Well, I certainly honor the fact that you are where you are. And it was a journey.
To say the least. Yeah. The journey has
Yeah.
just begun, is what it feels like anyway. Or I guess it's just another phase of my life journey. So, but yeah, it's definitely been that. It's been just that.
Yeah. And I'm sure your wife, Suzanne, could say a lot about that. And listen, I want both of y'all on here very soon.
I don't
So
think
don't
you need. I don't think you need two of us. First of all, I'm not trying to be in the same room with you and her at the same time. We already know how that goes.
I need to do some firsts on here, and I need a couple. So
You
you're
need
my first male interview, by the
listen.
way.
That's why I'm like, why am I on here? I just realized. I was like, wait a minute.
You're extra special. You
Is
are
that what
extra
it is?
special.
Or is it
Yes.
that I got to take one for the team? Is that all right? So I'm taking one for the fellas.
You
I
got
got
to
you,
take one for the
fellas.
team.
I'm
For
taking one
all
for
the
the fellas.
men that's coming after you. Yeah, so you got to set the bar. You got to set the bar for them.
Oh, here we go. Let's see
Yeah.
how where I can put this thing at. Let's see.
Yeah. So, I definitely want you to be able to share your journey because I think it's worth mentioning, and there's a whole testimony in it. Um, I want to dive into so many things with you, but I'll start with the maybe the journey to pastoring. How do you feel like you got here into this role?
Honestly, truth be told, I'm gonna start by saying this. And this may not be anybody else's. I didn't have ambitions to be a pastor.
I know that.
This is 100% just a call. And when I tried to just be like, nah, I'm good. But when you go 3 nights of no sleep,
Yeah.
you learn to tell God yes real quick. I mean,
Yeah.
it took literally 3 nights of no sleep to submit to the call. All right. So again, you know me. I grew up in church. Been in church my whole life. I tell people all the time, short of giving birth to us in church, we were always there. Kid
I
that fell
know.
asleep on church benches, first one there, last one to leave, because my parents served that church. My dad was a pastor at one point, and so
Okay.
grew up in church, and so I've done church my whole life.
Yes.
From a
I can
kid, migrated to New York when I was 11 years old, and they dropped us in the Bronx United Church, and so I was there for 23, almost 24 years of my life there. So an 11-year-old kid, just grown up in church and just did everything. I ended up, I won't even say I fell in love with church. I love people.
Yeah.
And I loved serving people. I loved young people because I was one of them. I was always around them. My career was with them. So I was working with students since I was 14 years old, working summer youth, and just it never stopped.
Yeah.
And so I was just always willing. I just love serving people and just doing things with people. And I guess it turns out that's one of the qualifications for this role is to love people.
Yeah, that's what makes you a wonderful pastor right now.
Yeah, I never got the idea, or I'm not a big fan of those who subscribe to you wanting to lead people and not love people. And there's a big difference.
Yeah.
There are many great leaders that are out there and they do well at it in the role. But as far as it pertains to people, I think so many of us suck at it. And I don't profess to be the perfect one, but man, I 100% just believe in being there for people and serving people and just
Yeah.
helping folks. And so
Yeah.
I've always just done that, and I've enjoyed doing it. So I served as, again, now what we call a youth pastor in where we are. Back then it was you a youth president.
Yeah. Yeah. We had all these different titles. Yeah.
Yeah, so did that for just a number of years. Started out again just as a group leader, then it morphed into an assistant, and then that morphed
Yes.
into becoming the youth president. Then
I
that
came up
morphed
in that
into
era too. Yes.
yeah,
With you.
then it was the assistant to the district youth president, and
You
then
surely
from
moved
there,
up.
yeah, it was district youth president until it
Yeah.
was, hey, it was time to move on. And hopefully I was going, hey, I just want to go back to the behind the scenes kind of stuff. But again,
No way.
I've learned, man, listen, you want to make God laugh? They say, tell him your plans.
Yeah.
And he's certainly been laughing. I think he's still laughing right now, to be honest with you. So it's been a journey. It's really
I'm
been a
sure it
journey.
has. I
And
mean,
now,
I'm sure it has. You
Yeah,
told us some stories. I know.
yeah, lots and lots of stories. Again, like I said, listen, man, I profess to no one that I'm innocent across the board with a
Right.
lot of things. But I've watched God use those experiences, and it's actually very humbling when I look back to see
Hmm.
where I am now.
Yeah.
It's one of those, I'm sure there's a lot of other people you could have picked that, that
No,
honestly
you
qualified
are the
more.
yes. Yeah, you are
Yeah, and it's the
fit.
truth. Like there's
Hmm.
legit times I'm around, and again, I've met so many people along the journey, and even where I am now, and I listen to people talk, and I hear them express themselves and how they talk about the word and how
Yeah.
they talk about things, right? That affects Christendom, as it were, and I'm like,
Yeah.
man, these are some smart dudes. These are some intellectual dudes, and these guys get word and they understand it, and they know kingdom talk, and they know business language, and all the
Yeah.
things that you think are needed and to do what God's called you to do. And I'm like,
Hmm.
man, you picked the wrong guy. There's a few times I've told God, like, I think
Wow.
you picked the wrong guy.
And God is like, well, I didn't say I require all
um,
that.
yeah, that's what I'm again discovering, but
Yeah.
it's humbling. And it certainly has
Hmm.
been a journey. It's been a lot of God. I honestly, and my heart has just been honest. Like I just wanted to serve. I just want to be
Yeah.
somewhere.
I can
Heavy
see
is the
that.
head that wears the crown, they say, and so I've never wanted to wear the crown. I'm fine
Hmm.
serving in any capacity, and I think I've done so honestly for as long as I can remember. I don't think there's a position I've never held in church or an area in church I've never served at, short of the women's ministry, because that's just not my place.
Yeah. That would be odd.
Yeah,
For
but
you to
I've
be
watched.
on that
Hey,
too.
listen, I sat with Suzanne and I watched her do it, and I've been
Yeah.
there for her with it, and see her baby and give birth to so much stuff in that area. So, but I
Yeah.
just
I love
love
what
serving people.
you did.
Yeah, yeah,
I know that for sure that it's from your heart because you've been doing the work before you even consider that you were going to step into this kind of role.
yeah, 100%,
You
one
know,
hundred percent.
and being having been a wife before and having listened to your wife, my twin sister, she's always professed that or declared that that's who you were,
Yeah,
and she was just praying for the day when it would get caught up to you or you would get caught up to it
yeah,
and, take ownership of it. So I feel like it's amazing to see you accepting it at
yeah.
this point in your life. And it's miraculous what's been happening. I don't know how much you want to share, but Deeper Church. We're experiencing I feel some amazing um, open doors. Like God
Yeah,
is certainly,
yeah, yeah,
we know without a doubt, God is the one moving this, or taking ownership of this place, or building the kingdom through us. So
yeah.
I want you to talk a little bit about that. How has Deeper come
Ah,
around? Yeah, because
listen. Yeah. Again, my life is a journey, and it's not done. And I think our
yeah,
walk with God is just that. It's a journey, not a destination. It's no arrival place where you get to and be like, "Hey, I'm good."
yeah,
In the minute you think you've arrived and you've gotten comfortable, I think that's when you have to start reevaluating. So it's really been a journey and a half.
yeah.
Again, just accepting that this is what God was calling me to do.
Hmm.
And I don't even say me, but us, because my family's 100% a part of it. Suzanne is
Oh
100% a
yeah.
part of this journey. I wouldn't be doing this without her.
Hmm.
In truth, I told
Yeah.
God, I said, listen, if I'm going to lose my wife and my kids in this process, then I don't want this at
Right.
all. I'd rather not have that because they're more important to me than anything. They are my ministry. They are the
Hmm.
people I serve first and
Yeah.
who I'm responsible for first and
Hmm.
foremost. So they've just been just a tower of strength for me
Yeah.
on this journey, and Suzanne in particular has just been walking with me this whole step of the way. And man, love the girl to death.
I know you
Um,
do.
but so again, it was accepting the call. That was the first piece.
Yeah.
Um, and then going, my next question was, God, if this is what you're calling me to do, what does it look like? Right. So does this mean we go plant a church? Does this mean you want me to be a part of a ministry? and
Yeah.
serve as a pastor on staff. And so again, it's been nothing. It's all been bathed in prayer. And so just over time of spending time with God in prayer and just again, listening and keeping my ears open and in
Yeah.
conversation with other people, I'm realizing that, hey, this is the time to go start something is what he was calling us to do.
Yeah.
And so my next question was then where, right? Because again, we live in a city where we're not short of churches.
Yeah.
And so my question is like, okay, Lord, I don't think Dallas needs another church, honestly.
So that.
But so I thought, right? But his
Yes.
response again, and you hear it, I guess, as we continue to talk,
Yeah.
that this is just where he wanted us to be. For specific reasons. Again, we'll dig into more of that, I'm sure, as we go on in the conversation. But Dallas is where it was. And I honored God. I love that, to be honest with you, because one of the things, again, I have conversations with God, and I've always said this, even before I got here, I never want to plant a church where I don't live. I need to impact the place I live. And I recommend it. I know it's not always ideal for other people, so no knock on anybody else. But I honestly believe that pastors and they need to affect the community in which they live. Or if that's where the church is planted, I would think that's where you want to be in order to have an impact on that community in and of itself, because that's the purpose of the church. So if you're going to be there, it is to serve the community, not just the people who come to the church, but it is to make headway in the community. I wholeheartedly believe that. And so Dallas is where it is. So we had moved there 2 years. We had already been living here for 2 years, and I was already just connecting with people just because, again, I just love people. I was already connecting with my neighbors and doing life with them and just helping out where I can, cutting people's grass, washing folks' cars, picking up folks' groceries, just doing life with people in general. And so felt like this is what God was calling us to. And so we had launched out, hey, let's go do this thing. Me and Suzanne, and we were like, hey, we're going to have to just build this team and grab Suzette and her kids and see where we can go with it. And
I knew that was coming. Listen, I knew all about y'all. I was not in the dark, y'all. I knew everything before they had a name. Okay. I was in the loop.
You were. You've been an intricate part of all of this as well. For sure. And again, all of that will start unfolding as we continue to talk. But knowing this is where God called us to. And so, man, just launched out to do it and started doing this thing on our own. Doing what we knew to do. But God knew what we needed along the journey. And he would use just one individual, again, another pastor that we just happened to meet through our son, Jaiden, who connected with another young man at school, turns out to be the nephew of a pastor, had a Christmas program there at the church. I think it was that 2022. And so we were at December of 2022, went to the service, just enjoyed it, and was getting ready to walk out the door and met the pastor. And we got into conversation and asked me, what do I do? And so I was telling him what I was in the process of doing. And man, he just invited me. Listen, dude, we got to do lunch. Don't do anything else. I got a ton of resources I'd just love to share with you. And so we connected, and it's been a journey ever since. Listen, I've learned, man, God will use one person to turn your whole world upside down.
Yes, just one person. My God.
One individual in one instant. And that one individual comes with so many other people and with so much. That sometimes it can feel for me, it's felt like overwhelming at times. It's just unbelievable. And so for us, the journey started there, and I'm trying to make it short. I don't want to. I want to
hear the story. Yes.
And so he calls it speed dating. So he and I literally started just speed dating. God brought our lives together with multiple purposes, and it's still unfolding. One of which is to bring just racial reconciliation to our city. I 100% believe that. He pastors a predominantly Caucasian church, and he tells me, man, I sat across from this guy and watched him in tears and just with a heavy heart just shared, hey, this is the one thing I don't like about my church. Love everything about it. but the fact that his church does not represent or look like what his city looks like and what he believes heaven is going to be like. And it was one of those things, that brought us together. Again, the city that we live in, Martin Luther King says it, right? He says the most segregated hour of any week or any day is a Sunday. And it's easily reflected. I can see that again in the South where we are. For multiple different reasons as well. So, but God knitted our lives together, man. And we've just been on this journey. He's opened up our world to so much. An organization called Stadia. We became a part of that. And so we've gone through the process where we've been assessed and evaluated on every level that you can possibly think of, from our marriage to our finances, to our kids, to our experiences in the past, all to make sure that we were healthy and that we were at a good place to do what God was really calling us to do.
I was all for that kind of
100%. Which even that was just new for us.
Because a lot of pastors are out there living with all these mental health issues. I'm all about that.
Oh, absolutely.
They didn't go through this process that you guys went through.
Listen, again, our style of church and our upbringing says, hey, you go get a building. God calls you go get a building, open it up, and then figure it out how to fill it. Right. And so it's nobody to answer to necessarily, or nothing to go through. But we just felt that, man, listen, if this is what God was calling us to do, what's the worst? So we're just going to go with it. We're going to go the direction that God's calling us to go. And so we went through the process and we thought it was necessary too, right? Wanting to make sure, hey, my marriage was healthy. My relationship with my kids was healthy. That my finances were at the places it needed to be, right? So make sure, hey, you're not trying to start a church because you're trying to go make money. Because it's not a business move. At least it's definitely not for me. It's become that now in this century, and trust me, and I say it because it's something I've experienced, and I've had conversations with other people, and it's hey, it's a business move, and so they make it. Not so for me at all. It's 100% just a call that I tried to get away from. But again, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, right? And so we went through all the Stadia's process, and so just set just goals and markers in terms of just things that we needed to do, doing preview services, engaging more in the community, doing block parties, and just serving, doing what we do.
And so to be a part of that, to see people come through the door based on just our presence in the community. And it's something, again, that we want to keep at the forefront of what we do. So I think it's easy after you've gotten started to get out of the mode of what got you to where you are and change trajectory. But again, I want us as a church just to remain focused on that again, it's not about who's here. We love the fact that you're in the door. We love it. And we're preaching that you give your heart and your life to Christ. But as you come in, the goal is to continue the Great Commission of just reaching people for Christ. And it's easy to lose sight of that because we can get in the building and we can start doing church, and it becomes about church, and it becomes about the people that are already there. And we miss the assignment of, again, reaching our community and engaging our community and making our community aware that God wants the entire city, that he wants the community. And I'm one of those that's just ridiculous enough, honestly, wholeheartedly, just to believe that God wants the entire city of Dallas. He does.
And so I'm praying for it and believing God for it, and putting in the work, and asking our church to do just that. We all put in the work and go pursue people. All right. The Bible said that Jesus said, I came to seek and to save the lost. We look at the save the lost part, but I think so many times we miss out on, he went looking. The seeking part was him going after. And that's the assignment. And so I never want to lose sight of that. And so we did the groundwork of just serving in our community. You've been a part of it. You've gone live. You've snapped pictures. You've been posting and sharing this stuff, which absolutely appreciative of, which just tells me, again, you're super proud of what it is that we're doing, and you're happy to be a part of something that's having an impact. And so I'm proud, 100% proud of that, and just proud to see what God is just doing with you, even through the ministry. And so,
thank you.
we've done that, and thank God 3 Sundays ago, January 14th,
Yeah, we
we
launched.
launched, was
Yeah,
the big push to get everything
yeah,
functioning and going on a weekly basis. And so
yeah.
it's been a journey and a half since. So we met this gentleman that we were sharing his space. So again, just to backtrack just a little bit, praying, God, where do you want us to serve? City of Dallas. Okay. Where? And so the street that we're planted on is called Dallas Ackworth Highway. And I can't tell you, again, you're aware of it, how many
Yeah,
times I've driven up and down this street going, God,
yeah.
this is where I know you're calling us to, but where? There's
Mm-hmm.
nowhere here. I see homes developing. I see communities being built,
Yeah,
and it's growing, and I'm seeing it. And I've driven up and down the street, countless hours I've put in just driving back and forth in and out of neighborhoods, just praying and asking the Lord where. If this is
yeah.
where you're calling us to, then where? And again, just one key encounter. Again, this same gentleman, same pastor friend of mine, Greg, that I met December of 2022, was instrumental in going, hey, I know the pastor of Grace Point Church. So Grace Point Church is literally 5 minutes from our house. And I'm like, man, I've driven past that church and thought this guy has like the best spot
Yeah.
ever, I think, in our city for
Like on a hill.
just
I'm like, that's a city
yeah,
on a hill. That
like
cannot
a
be
city on a
missed.
hill, right? And where he is just right in the middle of all these community development, right? So
Yeah,
you're within a 1 mile radius alone, and probably even shorter than that. Man,
yeah.
I can't even tell you how many communities I've written down. I think it's like
Wow.
9 or 10, I think is what I've written down so far, and actually have given to our prayer teams and have been going in and out of praying on a weekly basis so far. But I'm sure it's way more than that. Again, if you go in between the streets and branch off, there's other community developments that are there. And so thought this guy just had the perfect spot. And
Yeah.
here comes again Greg just going, hey, I know the pastor of this church. I'm going to reach out to him, and maybe you can ask him if that's where you guys can just host your launch team meetings. So I said, man, that would be fantastic if we can get a chance to do that. And so he made the introduction for us, and Suzanne and I sat with him and just shared our hearts, that what God had placed on our heart to do, and for our city and for our community. And I just told him, hey, made the ask of, hey, would you allow us just to come in and host our launch team meetings where we train our team as we build, pushing forward. And he was very gracious and just open and goes, hey, yeah, that's not a problem at all. And then the conversation months in began to morph into, hey, what would it look like if we shared spaces with you guys? They're in there at 10 a.m. They're usually done by 11:15, 11:30. So I'm
Right.
like, hey, what would it look like if we came in after and I just shared space after you guys leave? Would you guys be open to us coming in? And we'd just run our services there. And, he was very gracious. Hey, let me talk to our team, and I'll get back with you on it. But I'm not seeing an issue there. So he spoke with them. A week later, came back. Hey, everybody just is on board and think it would be great to have you guys in the building. And
Yeah.
so again, we are sharing space. And so I'm sharing just our heart with this guy. And so I'm just watching God just open the door, and gradual steps are being made.
That's
So we
amazing.
go from just, again, hey, can we share your space and use it for launch team meetings, into, hey, would you be open to us
That makes sense.
just coming in after
Yeah.
you guys on a Sunday and leave? And so he was super gracious, and even went as far as saying, man, listen, I know what it is to plant a church. And so he's like, listen, for the first 6 months you guys are in here, I don't even need you to worry about rent. Just worry about building.
That
And
alone
so
is just like, what?
listen, talk about just the weight off your shoulders. Because
Yeah.
again, we went in going, hey, we'd come in and we'd split the rent with you guys and take
Yeah.
care of the space and whatever else. And he's just
But
like,
don't worry
nah,
about the rent.
just want you guys to focus on what God's calling you to do and build. And we got the rest of it. And so, man, that was a weight and a load off of our
Amazing.
shoulder. Any pastor will tell you. Again, most pastors probably won't talk, or some of them
Yeah.
are vented from the pulpit. Not a recommendation on this end at all. But finances is one of the biggest things that would ever impact a church,
Yeah.
and where it
That's
goes, and how it functions. And so to have that weight lifted, I was like, God, you are definitely, again, just showing this is your church, and you promised that you would build her, And so I'm just
Yes.
watching him do this piece by piece, brick by brick,
God.
down to the very people that he was adding and sending.
Mhm.
Again, we weren't coming from a church and having people go with us. We were literally, again,
From
just starting
scratch.
from the ground up, from
Yes.
scratch.
Yes.
So having
Yes.
to meet people and just share vision and mission and invite them on board to what God is calling us to do. And he would just add the pieces as he saw
Yeah.
fit. Again, you were the only one, again, with the family
Mhm.
that we knew here, really.
Yes.
At least that didn't have a church home and was like, hey, Suzette is our first one. Let's go. But
Yes.
we're going to build from there.
Yes.
So
Yes.
having that piece of it, and then we're in the phase of, hey, now we kick off, so no
Yes.
rent, and hey, we're just functioning now.
Yes.
And so we launched the 14th. Then
January.
on the second Sunday that we were in the building,
Second Sunday.
the second
Okay.
Sunday, the
Uh-huh.
second Sunday we were in the building, we get in there to set up, and that pastor happened to still be there when I got there, and he pulled me to the side saying, hey, I just need to talk to you.
Mhm.
So I'm going to reach out to you in the middle of the week. So of course, he kind of left it up in the air. So a million things started running through my mind, all of which was, what do we do? What do we need to
Yeah.
fix? What do we need to
He's
work
about
on?
to tell
So,
me. What's he about to
you
say?
know, and so it was kind of just up in the air kind of a thing. So of course,
Yeah.
I gave him up to 2 days. I didn't hear from him after that. I was like, yeah, we need to get this sorted out. So of course I reached out.
It's
I
messing
reached
with
out to
your
him.
mind.
I just needed to clear. Listen, I needed all things clear and on the table. So I
Yeah.
reached out, just on the strength of, hey, I just wanted to follow up and just wanted to make sure that if there was anything that we had done wrong, that we needed to have it corrected and in place and fixed by the time we got back there on Sunday. If I needed to reach out to the team or to leadership, then we'd be able to do it. Of course, he responded with a text message like, no, you guys have been great. None of that at all. So called me about 30 minutes later, and he and I got into a conversation. And while we were talking, he said, man, listen, what I want to share with you is that, hey, on Sunday, when you guys came, which was the second Sunday, he said, man, I actually resigned. Of course, I was blown away.
Uh-huh. I wasn't
I'm
surprised.
like,
I was blown away.
wow. I mean, I wasn't expecting it then,
I
honestly.
know.
All right. So
So soon.
hindsight, looking back, just in conversations I've had with him, I understood why. And
Yeah.
I got it then. But again, I never take pleasure or rejoicing in anybody stepping down or
Sure.
resigning, right? And so, again, it's
Especially when
another
you're ready.
hit on some
Mhm.
levels for the kingdom, right? And so, but
Yeah.
gracious and gratefully so, he was like, man, listen, it wasn't because of anything I did wrong or
Yeah.
no moral failure or anything like that. He just believed, man, it was time for me to step down and
Mhm.
move on. And so
Yeah.
he did that. So, got into conversation about what's next and
Yeah.
what would happen next. And so he shared his take on what he felt would happen next, but that he would give me concrete information the following Sunday. So again,
Yes.
third Sunday back in the building, we get there and he's there and there's congregants are there, and it
One
ends
after
and
the
we're
other. This is
one
just
after
so
the other.
mind blowing. Yeah.
Listen, we get there and he pulls me to the side as they're getting out and we're setting up. And he's like, man, listen, it is what I thought. The church decided unanimously that, hey, we're just going to dissolve. And I'm like, wow, geez, I honestly, again, just like, God,
Wow.
are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
This is crazy. I'm trying to figure out what my emotions are supposed to be at this point.
Yes.
There's a level of excitement, but then there's also that level of, man, never like to see another church close down
But
at
God
all, right?
has purpose. Oh
But
my
God has plans and
God.
he knows 100% what's best. And so,
Yeah.
they ended up dissolving the church, and then he turned to me and he goes, man, listen, everything in this building is yours.
That's the part.
What? What did you just
That's
say?
my
Yeah.
goodness.
Everything in this building, we decided it is yours. And he says, man, listen, did you talk to your management team about whether or not you guys would be able to afford this place and things of
Yes.
that nature? So of course I'm like, nah, listen, the way we got into this building, I know this is exactly where God wants us to be. And so
Yes.
he's like, well, listen, since we're going to be shutting down, he says, man, we're just going to donate everything that we have in our account to Deeper Church. I'm like, you have got, is this a joke or something? So, it's one of those moments you look around like, where's the camera at? Is somebody pranking me?
Yeah. Like, am I being punked? Like,
Oh
what's
my
going
God. Just watching God do what he does has just been mind boggling. And
on?
so to see a
Mind
church
blowing.
again
So not only do you get
dissolve,
the church, but the everything in it,
the
I'm
account,
getting
everything
your bank
associated
account.
with it, right? So, they left this, the balance that is in their account,
Yeah.
which will cover us for a couple months, which is just,
Yeah.
again, a huge blessing. So you go from a church that's portable, setting up on a Sunday and breaking down, to now being established, as it were, 3 weeks
Established.
in. This is just all a God thing. Just all a God thing, and
Nobody
it's
can say it
crazy.
wasn't God.
No, listen, I tell you, God has a real sense of humor, right? So we go in, and of course, there are things aesthetically in the building and things we saw that we felt like, hey, just allow me, can we come in and just make these improvements, right?
Yeah.
Because the heart is towards, hey, this is God's kingdom. And you guys know, Suzette, my take on
Mhm.
things is always, hey, I'm treating this like it's my house. It's
Yeah.
God's house. And
You do
so
a great
if I
job.
take
Yeah.
care of my home, then I
Mhm.
want the house of God to be taken care of again, because we're preparing for guests.
Yeah.
Right. And so again, we take necessary steps and precautions when we have guests coming to our house. And so for us, it was, I want to take those necessary steps and precautions
Yeah.
as people are coming to the house of God. Aesthetically, again, I'm not excited, I'm not, hey, the lights, and nah, for me, it still needs to be a place there. It's clean,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's the bathrooms are clean, that it's inviting, that it's a welcoming atmosphere that we're trying to
Aesthetically
create for
appealing.
people.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and so again, we just asked, hey, permission, can we do this? Would you guys be open to us doing things? So again, even something as simple as a floor. They had a concrete floor in the building and it was painted. So I
Mhm.
guess they had done some activity there and laid out tape on it and peeled up the tape and then ripped up the paint off the floor. And so aesthetically, it just looked really, really
It was a
bad. So
mess.
it was, right?
It
And
was
so
a mess.
again decided, hey, we would love to be able to do something like that, right? About the floor.
Yeah.
So interesting, right? Watch how God works.
Look at this is
We were
another
doing
testimony.
residency. We were doing residency at Creekside. So we've been attending Creekside, which is where Greg and Leilani are the pastors, the
Mhm.
family, again, the pastors that we connected with. And so we were
Yeah.
going there and met this gentleman there, couldn't remember his name, right? So I met this guy and we would have conversations like every Sunday. Just had conversation just about life and marriage and kids and church and just all of it, right?
Yes.
Weeks and weeks, and I just couldn't remember the gentleman's name. Anyway, I'm sharing with Greg, hey, I would love to be able to take care, do the floors. And so we were talking through it, and he's like, hey, listen, I got a guy who does floors, right? He
Mhm.
works for a corporate company and he has connections doing that thing. So I was like, hey, great. Would you, let me connect you. And so he connects me to this guy. He and the guy and I reach out to him and share with him what I'm trying to do. And so we're talking via text this whole time. And so sends one of his guys out, measure the floor and
Yeah.
the whole thing. And so we go through it and then he hits me up and he goes, all right, now we got measurements done. He said, hey, do me a favor. Would you meet me at my office? And then we can go through some samples of
Yeah.
and options of what we can do with the floor. So I was like, cool. I show up at this office and when I walk in there, who is it? It's the same guy that I've been talking to for months at the
Amazing.
church, right? Um, company is called Five Floor. Plugging them because they're absolutely fabulous. Five Floor, Shay Reason. And so I'm like, dude, this is your company? He's like, yeah. I was like, did
Wow.
not expect that or see that one coming. So,
So
he
shout
lays
them
out a
out.
bunch of tiles on the floor, a bunch of
Yeah.
samples on the floor of carpets and well, not carpet. He laid out vinyl flooring for me. And I was like, I didn't want vinyl flooring
Mhm.
because I'm like, chairs are going to slide on it. Right. And so he's
Mhm.
like, let me tell you what I have in mind. So he presents what he had in mind.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that sounds doable. We can work it. And then he goes, the reason I'm giving you these options is because then you won't have to pay for the floor. I said, what you mean?
What?
He said,
Right. That was another layer, y'all.
I'm just going to donate the floor to you guys. I said, are you kidding me right now? He's like, yeah, no, I'm really not kidding. Yeah, we would just donate the
Yeah.
floor and I have some carpet that we would use to kind of just overlay in certain positions as well.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you have got to be Got to be
Wow.
kidding me. So I was like, all right. I was grateful for that, but then decided, hey, that's fine if you cover, then let me eat the cost of labor. We'll pay for labor. So his
Yeah.
workers came in a couple months later, did the floor for us in like 3 days. They came in and scraped it. Actually, it was 2 days. Came in,
Yeah.
scraped the floor, sanded and did everything and got the floor done for us in like 2 days. And so they're done, right? I call this guy, I'm at the church, and I call him, go, hey, do me a favor, just email me the bill for labor costs so we can get it taken care of. And he's like, dude, what are you talking about? I said, what you mean what I'm talking about? I said, hey, email me the bill. He's like, dude,
Yeah.
that's already taken care of. That's
Wow.
done. I said, what? He said, yeah, I
Wow.
took care of that, man. You don't even have to worry about that. So I'm watching God, Suzette, just provide
That's amazing.
every step
Wow.
of the way. And again, there are countless stories that I can stay on here and it'll probably
Yeah.
take up your entire podcast time. Just story after story of just the hand
Yeah.
of God and his provision. Just again, because I 100% believe, and I am a testimony to the fact that if God calls you to do something, he will provide for it.
Yes.
And when he says it's my church and I'm going to build it, I'm learning again, it is his, and just to release it into his hands and allow him to do with it what he wants, right? So we do what we know to do, and the rest just trust him with.
Yes.
Somebody told us a while back, she said, again, same Leilani, Greg's wife,
Yes.
she said,
Praise
listen, the only thing that you are responsible for is just to be obedient. That's all God is asking of us. He's not asking us to do anything else aside from be obedient to what he's calling us to do. You don't have to worry about what anybody else thinks, what anybody else has to say, not the growth of the church, not the funding of the church, none of this stuff. Like your responsibility is to be obedient to what God is calling us to do, and God will take care of the rest. And so we're watching him do all of that right now at Deeper Church,
Wow.
piece by piece, piece by piece.
Piece by piece. And I'm just looking at the summary of everything you said so far. As it relates to your journey with Deeper, you met Greg and Leilani. Greg had all these access to the organization Stadia, and you guys ended up going through a process that was to equip you guys for this time.
Yep.
And upon starting, we did 2 preview services, and then you have the launch coming up. And by the time before the launch came up, you were already taking care of this property as if it was yours. You were being a good steward over this place. Got favor from the Lord again through one person that you met who put the flooring in. It was beautiful before launch day.
Yeah.
And you didn't even know they were going to hand you the keys, completely to this building. You did this. Right?
Yeah.
And the first day we have our launch, by the second service, here comes the favor of the Lord again. He's telling you we're about to,
resign,
let go of this church, resign. And all of that came through on the 3rd Sunday.
Yeah.
And here we are. Not even at the fourth Sunday yet.
No. Yeah.
And we're saying we have entire access to that place.
Yeah. We've got keys, which is, again, man, it's just mind blowing. Again, prayer is a beautiful thing, and trusting God is, again, just countless testimonies just of God's faithfulness, just even to the people that he's connected with us. Our student pastor, God sent, prayer leader, God sent. These are people, again, that were connected elsewhere, right? Just people connected elsewhere that, again, time in prayer, and the Lord was like, hey, I'm going to send these people. And I'm like, why and how? I'm like, no, they're connected elsewhere. But to work him, again, without my doing, without my involvement, him speaking and him doing what needs to be done, just watch God send the right pieces. And now, again, just fitting us together, have you leading worship and watching you just groom young people, again, teaching, again, which is what we're big on, just discipling people, walking with people in the journey, not looking for finished products, because none of us are and none of us ever will be until he comes back. But just as we mature in our faith, and so watching God use you just to groom our worship team, and again, just to create a culture of worship that is just inviting, and just one of participation is just it's just, man, I can't. I again know churches that have been around for much longer, and again, this is no pat on my back, no credit to me at all, not to Suzanne or to anybody else, but it literally is God building His church. Their people were getting
church on the first Sunday, y'all. Build your church by Maverick.
yeah, and it is very fitting, right? Build your church from the ground up, because it's His church. Your churches again that are around much longer than we have been, and they're still again portable, still going in, setting up every Sunday and breaking down. And I honor and respect it. Been a part of that journey at different points in my life, But to be here again, 3 weeks in, like you said, to go from a portable state and 3 weeks in to none of it again, to keys in hand and getting in and out whenever we want. It's amazing.
Perfect
amazing.
timing. 3 weeks, 3 is that number of completion. And to see, God really is a God of His word. And His 100%. Promises are sure. And I feel like we are walking in that season of promise. And one thing you pointed out is like every person you meet, this is why we have to treat people well.
100%. Right? Yeah.
We don't know what door God is opening through one person. We can't discredit someone.
It's that, listen, you entertain angels unaware kind of a thing.
Exactly.
You never know, man. And I'm telling you, one person will change your entire life. God will use one individual just to turn your world in the direction that He wants to for His glory. And Greg and Leilani and the Creekside family has just been, they've been that. And again, there are other people that have been a huge support for us on this journey. Just a lot of people that have been very, very instrumental. Mark and Jen are one of those as well. The other sister, Dav, Link Church has been a huge blessing. Dav has been a blessing to us, and just huge support systems just across the board. So we'd be here for a long time, for a few days.
I know. But you said something I wanted to go back to when you met with Greg about being multicultural, having, us worship together, us looking like the city we live in, not just being segregated, a white congregation or black congregation. But we need more churches in Dallas in particular that are multicultural. And so, and it's fitting that you mentioned it during this Black History Month, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And as a Black pastor, and I think we've seen statistically, maybe, I'd have to go check for real. When it comes to Black pastors, we may not have as many white people coming in as our counterparts sometimes who have the mixture. So I think it's so good that you and Greg, have collaborated on this thing.
Yeah.
I wonder how you see that coming to fruition, you and him. Is there more collaboration going on between y'all?
Oh, yeah. Listen, man, we'll be doing life with Creekside for as long as God allows us to, which is just, I don't see an end in sight, honestly. I think God allowed them to give birth to us, right? So they became our sending church, which has just been huge in so many different ways, right? And so Greg and I, we're intentional about building our relationship and our friendship, and so we've scheduled our monthly time together. So we'll go sit down again, just hold each other accountable, and continue to dig and pray together about what God wants to do in our city, right? Because again, we are for the kingdom. This is not an individual thing. This is not a deeper church thing and a Creekside church thing. It's a kingdom thing, right? And so we're building. And so for us, it's been, man, Greg got in his pulpit and he told his church, listen, if you feel like God is calling you to go be a support to deeper and help them to get off the ground, that was huge, right? He encouraged them to spend time praying about it. And if that's where the Lord leads you, then go. And for us, the same on our end, where I'm going, hey, you may come through our doors and not feel 100% like, hey, comfortable, or this is where we want to be. And I'm like, hey, listen, Creekside Church is on the other side and we would love it. I don't care where you go. We just want to know you're a part of the body. We just want to know that you're a part of the kingdom. And so there's lots. We've been talking about doing our nights of prayer together, just so we can, again, just come together, nights of worship and prayer that we want to schedule on our calendar, where we come together as churches just to pray together, worship together, and to show our city what it looks like. That two churches, again, right, that are of different race and different culture, we can put whatever differences aside we may have, and again, the main thing, which is God and His kingdom, which is reach people. I'm not called to everybody, just as Greg isn't called to everybody. There are people that Greg will reach that I won't, and there are people that God's assigned us to reach that we'll get to reach. And again, that's Bible, right? Peter was sent not to, again, Gentiles. The Lord sent him to Jewish folks, and Paul was sent to reach Gentiles. And again, it doesn't mean that this is who you focus on. Any person who comes across our path is who we're going after. But there are people who will connect to you in different seasons, right? As God sees fit. So Creekside, again, for us, man, we're family is what we say. We are literally family. We've shared tables together. And I think you look at the Jewish culture, one of the things that brought people together and one of the things that solidified friendships and covenants were when we shared a meal together. And we've done that. You know, we've gone as far as, man, we've even washed each other's feet. You know, we've done communion together. And so we've served each other. And so they're family for us and will always be. And so again, but for us, we've been very intentional too about building our church and even building our team. And so again, we have an amazing team. Again, we have the diversity on the team, which we also love. And just want to continue to celebrate that and encourage that. We're intentional about that, the style of worship that we do as well. Very inclusive and incorporative, not just of Black music. As you know, no, we do it all just across the board because all of those things make a big difference. It's well represented also on stage for us. So it's not just, hey, you coming and you get to sit in the building, but you're incorporated in what we're doing on the stage. Again, according to your gifting and according as God has just wired us. So, you know, we're plugging people in every different area to serve. And so that's intentional as well. And God led also. So, you know, that's been a blessing. And so thank God. Again, we're still building and just trusting that God will continue to add to His church, like He said, like He did in the book of Acts. Those who are being saved, those who we would continue to do life with. He's only going to add to the church the people we do life with. And so if we're choosing, I only want to do life with Black folks, then that's what you're going to get. If you're choosing to go, hey, I want to reach across the fence to other people in my community that don't look like me, Caucasians or Hispanics, or, you know, it doesn't make a difference if we're reaching for those people and seeking to do life with them. Again, live in a diverse community. And so, of course, I'm reaching to my neighbors, literally. Not just ask who is my neighbor, right? And so, hey, they live in front of me, they live to the right of me, to the left of me, they live down the street from me. And so, hey, they're getting first dibs. You know, we're on our Facebook page inviting them, asking how we can pray for them, doing life with people in our community. Again, long before we knew this is what God was calling us to do. And this just, again, create another opportunity for us to be able to be in the same place and share meals and get in each other's homes and in each other's space and grow together and do life with. So,
I was over here looking for the address because I don't say the address on here enough.
7915 Dallas Ackworth Highway.
Yes.
7915.
Every Sunday, I'm inviting people. We still have our service at 12:45 p.m. for this Sunday coming, but that's subject to change very soon. So
we're actually shifting. So again, an email is going to go out, but we are shifting our service time now to 10:30. So Sunday coming should be our last Sunday at 12:45, and then we're going to shift. So it gives people an opportunity to come out, enjoy the worship experience, connect with God, connect with people, and still have enough time to go home, put the kiddos down to bed, and still can go enjoy a lunch if you want to, and still be able to make it back in the evening for our discipleship class that we do every 5 weeks. They run in 5-week spurts in terms of just being able to connect. So, our day class.
So I'm gonna switch gears just a little bit. I know we've got deeper has been the topic, and I'm excited about that because we're making. You know, deeper has a great vision, right? I messed it up the last time I tried to share the vision, Uh, right? I mean, I know that we're made for more movement of diverse people, right?
That's it. We are made for more movement of diverse people
Yes.
pursuing Christ. Yeah, you got it.
Yes. Ooh, I'm not just
Hey,
one man.
look at you.
Okay. We are made for more. Okay.
That we
Okay.
are. That we are.
So I'm excited. I'm so excited about Deeper. You can tell.
I
Um,
can't listen. I love it. I
yeah.
love it.
But more than that, you're a pastor. So now we know you're a pastor, and you've talked a lot about that. But I've seen you be a wonderful husband to my sister and a father, and that connection is so important that you have with your children. I think that's why
Yeah.
they're so immersed with you in leadership.
Yeah.
They're doing
Yeah.
their part as young
Yeah.
men in the body of Christ. If listen, I need to brag on Nathaniel. He's like pro presenter, y'all, and he is
Yeah.
working along with me a lot. So I have to
Yeah.
brag on him because he wants to make sure everything is excellent and ready for us on Sunday. And he
Yeah.
gets so upset when things are off because he wants to do it with excellence, just like his father.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
there's Jaiden. Jaiden is the oldest one, but listen, y'all, he can really blow. Look at me losing my earring. He can really blow, y'all. Like he sings like nothing else.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, listen, you giving kudos on that, and listen, you got some great kids as well, and they're also serving
yes, I brag on my
in the
kids
body. Like,
sometimes. I brag
yeah,
on my
listen, I absolutely love every last one of them. Seth is helping out at the sound and audio.
yes,
You got Noah out there greeting folks and connecting people in the parking lot and at the
yes.
door. Aaron, Rachel, and Grace are in the back in the
They
children's
love
ministry.
kids. Yeah.
Just watching Aaron just mature and grow up.
Aaron is so
And
motivated as a teacher. I'm like, what
yeah,
is
and
this,
just
Aaron?
because he's loving it. He is
Yeah.
absolutely he's doing a phenomenal job
It's amazing
back
to
there
watch
just
them.
teaching the kids. His little cousin comes home and he talks about it. So
Yeah.
they're a huge blessing to us for sure. And I'm loving what God is doing in them
Yeah.
100%. So yeah.
Yeah. So you're balancing family life and marriage and all the
100%.
things.
Yeah, we have to. Again, man, like I said, I think our home is first ministry. And that was, again, something I said to the Lord. If I'm going to lose my family in the process, then I don't want this.
Yeah.
I've seen too many of that. Again, no knock on my parents on any leg. But again, my dad was busy traveling, preaching quite a bit. And so he wasn't always around. So he'd always hear about messages that I preached, or he'd always hear about the things that I did, but he was never present, was never able to be present for some of that stuff. And,
Yeah.
he and I have a great relationship now. We talk about some of that stuff. And again, hindsight is 2020, right? So you can't undo some of the things that's already done, but I'm a big proponent of learning from other people's experience and even from my own. And so I never wanted that for my kids. So my kids are very involved, again, fully involved and immersed in serving at the church and serving God, but they're also very involved, as you know, in school and with their own stuff. So Jaiden is doing his own music thing, but he's also his show choir captain, and he's in chorus and all state, and just about to graduate, right? So now he's in the college phase, and so we're visiting colleges and doing those tours and different things like that. Then there's Nathaniel, he's in marching band, and he's also now crossed over doing jazz band, and now he's in Jaiden's world of chorus and becoming a part of show choir. So he's as immersed in those areas as well. And then there's RJ trying to conquer the world in our city. But again, we get to be a part of that stuff. So I'm intentional about making time to go support and be present. So, I'm taking photos. I actually take photos for all of his school stuff and get to share that stuff and be a part of it. So again, they're huge for me. And then my wife, again, we've decided our Mondays is our time together. And so after our work day on Sunday, then it's, hey, at least half the day for us is, hey, we get a chance to go sit down. And of course, we got to tell ourselves, no talking about deeper, no talking about anything church related, though it's the baby, right? We still have to sit down and talk about our hopes and our dreams for each other and for our marriage and just our lives and for our kids and things of that nature. So it's an intentional thing. It won't happen just because we say it. It has to be something that we deliberately get up and make a decision to do every day, because there's always something fighting for our time.
Yes.
It will always be something fighting for our affection and for our attention. And again, as leaders, and as again in any spheres of life, right? If you're a business owner or an employee for any company, those things are always going to pull at us and seek to take us away from, again, our kids and our spouses, and even friendships that we're trying to build, and even from our own, just having time for ourselves. And I'm sure you're aware of that. You tend to carry a packed schedule with your workload and ministry and having to take care of 6 kids. So I'm sure there's a lot, and still trying to find personal time for yourself and time with the kids. I know it's a juggle, but it has to be done, right? So we have to be intentional about it. Putting stuff on our calendar, setting reminders in our phones, setting alarms in our phones. And even those things can pull us away from our personal time, our personal devotion time with God. We can get so busy doing things that doing things for him and not doing things with him.
And that's important. Wow.
And it's important that we are doing things with the Lord and not just for him.
Well, you're certainly setting an example about what is priority, what's important, and it's the people. Because, even with all the things you're doing, you'll take the time to come and see about me and my kids, and, not just as uncle, but I think, more so in the role of just being involved as a pastor too, be there for them, knowing that I'm single right now and divorced. You've been able to see me through this process. I kind of wanted you to share a little bit about, just your reflection on that a little bit, and how you would want to help somebody who's feeling stuck, in a situation, they didn't want to be in, so that divorce piece, how do you see it?
Man, it's always heartbreaking, 100%. I've experienced it close to home. As you are well aware, I know that's hit home close for me. From more than one angles. My brother has gone through that, and again, to see you go through it, I wouldn't wish that on anyone at all. Because it's a journey, right? You spent years building a life with someone, and it doesn't get undone in an instance. You may sign a paper or you make a decision in a moment, which to me is still not even an in a moment kind of a thing, because it's never overnight that something like that happens, right? But to undo all of that stuff, it's a journey. And so I've seen the emotional toll that it takes on both ends, and we're including when kids are involved. So I got to see that. Number one, man, you could have shut me out and said, hey, you wouldn't understand, you don't get it. Because again, it's easy to do, right? When you look at somebody else's marriage and somebody else's life and you think they've got it all together and, hey, they're making it work. And you look at you and you go, man, how did I get here? But you were, number one, just willing to allow me into that space as a brother and as a friend, because I really feel like, again, outside of the in-law piece of it and being married to your sister, I felt like we've developed and we are developing a friendship.
Absolutely.
And so just your willingness to allow me into that space and to walk with you in the journey as a friend and even as a pastor. It's humbling, to be honest with you. And so again, I'll always say, man, it's not the heart of God. And we see that all over his word, because it is a mirror. Marriage has always been a mirror of him and his church. And just as much as it breaks the heart of God when one walks away from him, when somebody makes a decision to go the other direction, to reject him, so it is, it breaks his heart to see a family split or to see a couple walk away. But I think there's also wisdom in it. And there's also life in walking away from what's going to take your life. And in some sense, that can be physically and also spiritually. There are things that are detrimental. So again, no proponent nor celebrator of divorce or an encourager of it at all. I'm always going to go fight for it and do everything to do to make it work. But the truth is, and the reality of it is, it always takes two.
Absolutely.
And it always bears in terms of just honesty, core honesty of, have I done everything I knew to do? Right. And if the situation is not changing and it's causing harm to you, possibly physically or emotionally, right? You're a counselor. We know there's more than one ways that abuse happens. It's not just a physical thing. And so again, the Bible says, life and death is in the power of the tongue.
Oh my God.
And so even the words that we use in our marriage, and in any relationship can cause death to happen. And so rather than die in a situation, wisdom has to prevail and you choose to run. Right. It's okay. Right. You will absolutely have to face and deal with the challenge of starting. I shouldn't even say starting over, of just continuing from where you are, because you don't get to hit the start over button again.
No.
It's just, hey, it's a new phase. It's a new chapter in the book. And you choose now what you allow the Lord to write in your story.
Yes.
And so for people who may feel stuck in it, I think you have to sit down and evaluate where you are. Again, 100% prayerful in all of the situation. But no, if you choose that, man, listen, this is not it for me and God has better for me, then the Lord is not holding you hostage nor captive to your situation at all. There's life still left to live, right? I always say, I don't think anybody gets married and go, you know what? One day I'm going to get divorced.
No.
Nobody does that. No different from nobody. Nobody plans for it. And if you did, there's something wrong with you. There's a whole nother issue there that needs to be worked out. No different from nobody wakes up and go, you know what, today I'm going to go be broke. I'm going to end up in debt. Today I'm going to be in poverty. Like today I'm going to end up sick. Nobody gets up and makes those decisions. No healthy, normal person does that. But life happens. And I'm super grateful. And I would again say that the grace of God is always sufficient. As his word said, the grace of God is enough to carry us through those situations. Will it be tough? Absolutely. You know that firsthand experience. Will it be an emotional roller coaster? 100%. You're going to have those. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. They're going to be days hey, I got this thing together and I'm hopeful and I'm excited. But you go to sleep and you wake up feeling like, I did not feel like this last night when I went to bed. Right?
I know, the emotional up and down. Yes.
Yeah, but I think one of the key things to get through it is, again, having a support system.
Yes.
I believe having people that would be there for you, right? That would come and sit with you. I love the story of Job, that he had friends. Again, I don't like the way it turned out, but I love the fact that, hey, they came and sat with him. And gave him his space to grieve and allowed him, right? The idea of, hey, I'm going to weep along with you. Right. I'm gonna be there with you and for you. And so
for a while, that's some real support right there.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Do you understand me? Yeah. Just they came and the Bible said they just sat. They didn't say anything for a while. I think it was a couple of days that they just sat with him. And so I believe, again, when you're going through this process, you may feel stuck. And listen, you need to find people that will just sit with you. They will sit with you. So if they're mourning, if you're in silence and they're willing to just be in silence with you when you're ready to cry, they're there with the box of tissue to dry your tears and just to encourage you and to pour into you and give you room to vent and to be angry when you need to be, and give you room to just be happy when you choose to be happy. That will, hey, come knock on your door and say, hey, let's go grab lunch or let's go get dinner. And do those things. Yeah. So again, I know it's a challenge. You're a real mess. I know it's a challenge to walk through that, but I think being able to walk with people through that journey and to know that, man, that's not the end of your story. If you still got life and you still got breath, you may still be in the process. Yes, you may still be in the fight. Right. Yes, it may not be smooth, even though the papers have been signed and the court have agreed to it. And, everything that's divided needs to be divided and is issued out and all this other stuff.
Oh, I'm so glad I'm on the other side of that.
Yeah. And so, you just have to keep going. You have to keep going. You have to keep going. You have to know that there's a lot more left in you, that's not the end of the story, that there's another page when you get a chance to turn the page. That's the beauty. You can turn the page. Your story may be one thing today, but tomorrow you get to turn the page. And you just never know who you will encounter or what you will experience that would just change the trajectory of your life forever. Right? And so you just got to keep living. You got to keep living.
Got to keep living. I love that. Oh, I think you shared a mouthful that's enough to encourage someone who feels like they're really stuck and they know what to do, but they're still belaboring and trying to figure it out because they're in misery. But thank you so much. I am so excited still just to have had you here.
Listen, I'm chirping right now. You got a guy on your podcast.
And listen, I think, you really had the stage. You got to really share. I feel like everything happened the way it was supposed to. I don't think I have any other questions for you. I think you answered all the thoughts that I had. I wanted you to talk about. And I think we've spent a good time together.
For sure. But before I get off, though, I got to tell you, listen, legit, I am super proud of you.
Thank you.
Not just because you started the podcast, because it's easy to start things, but to remain consistent with it. Starting things is always one thing, right? It's big. It's a very difficult thing to do sometimes, starting. But I think even more than starting, more difficult is to maintain and is to continue. And so I am super proud of you for starting. I'm proud of you for continuing. I'm proud of you for not quitting, right? In the journey, because you've had more than enough reason to throw in the towel and walk away.
You saw me.
You and I both know. Yeah. Listen, we both know people who've walked away and quit for less and have given up on life for less. So to see you stick with it and to see you continue to push to be the mom that God's designed you to be, to watch you be the Levite that God's called you to be in his house of service.
I'm surprised how I have the energy for this.
Yeah, it's a God thing. It's a God thing, and it's your determination. And I think, again, it's a God thing, but we fail to realize that we have a part to play in all of it, right? We have a choice. It's the one thing that God's given to all of us is the ability to choose. And so we have to make the decision. It's freedom of choice. We all have it, but we choose. But how we choose to use it or not use it is up to us. And so you choosing to stay the course and choosing to keep going says a lot about you. And so I got to celebrate you for that and just let you know I absolutely am proud of you for that. Keep going, girl. Keep going.
Thank you so much. Y'all heard it from my pastor. Okay. That he supports me on this journey, and I'm so grateful. Thank you. It means a lot to me. And you reiterated things I've often said, just having that support system is so valuable, and I could not have asked for a better support system than you and Suzanne, and those near and far. They know themselves. You are my immediate family here, and I don't know how I would have gotten through without you guys, honestly. So I'm forever grateful, and even for this opportunity to work with you all in ministry. I'm super excited. You guys know I'm 100% in, and so God's gonna do.
Loving it.
Yes, God, I love it too. I am just so happy that I got the opportunity to meet with my pastor, Rohan Thompson, and just for the work that is being done, in the kingdom of God through Deeper Church. You heard it from his mouth, all the things that led us here, his journey. And, just what God continues to do, just the doors that God has opened to lead us to this point. I can say I'm very thankful and privileged to be here and be able to see the promises of God come to pass in my life and in the lives of others who mean so much to me. I just hope his testimony, reached somebody's heart today, and that you will know that no matter where you find yourself, God can call you. God can also use you God has a plan for your life, one that you could not have even imagined, and it's a good one. His plans for you are good. They are not evil. In fact, he will use all of those things you've been through, all the struggle, all the hurt, the pain, and he can turn it for good use in the kingdom of God. So you heard it from my pastor today. Let the Lord lead your life, right? Let him take charge. Let him take hold of the reins. Give him your life. Give him your status in life, right? Doesn't matter what your status is. God can use you. Doesn't matter where you find yourself. Your life is not over. You can continue to serve him with every breath that's in your body. And with that, I just want to always remind you that no matter the circumstance, that you will stay married to his will. God bless you.